This conference will now be recorded.
This is BIG03's 2019 Facility Plan with State Construction Department, and we'll introduce ourselves first. My name is Troy Decker, Planning. My role in this process is quality control to make sure we abide by all state statutes, rules, and regs, to collect the data necessary to develop budgets for the school construction or school state construction department to make decisions on recommendations to SFC and also to make sure we have the appropriate data so that we can pass on information to legislators, governor's office, or any legislative committee that requests information.
Good. I'm Charlie Kaufman. My big role in this is all the data verifications, all the reports, and making sure that we have everything lined out and make sure all the data is correct.
I'm Steve McDonald. I'm the brand new project manager, regional project manager. Stopped in and saw you guys last week, and thanks for the tour, and nice to meet you guys then.
Thank you, Steve. Michael McLaren here, superintendent. Here.
Joe Forsella, maintenance facilities director.
Sarah Schlavin, business manager.
All right, Amber should be joining us in just a little while. She's helping another district right at the moment. I'll highlight that. And then Brandon Finney may or not join us, and I'll go back and remove him if he doesn't. And then we may have Paul Severson join us as well if he has the opportunity. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off our video camera just because sometimes we have streaming difficulties. And you guys can see my screen, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, welcome this afternoon, and more of housekeeping than anything else on these tracks and deeds and the things we're going to go through. But the first part of this I'm going to kind of go through fairly rapidly. It's simply verification and confirmation that we have good data. And so let's do that first. At any point, district, you have something to say, just step right in. If you don't have anything to say, we understand that as well. So we are looking at your various campuses here, your two campuses we're looking at here. And so Charlie has just put on some Google images here. And then Amber Leach just stepped in the door, and so we'll let her introduce herself.
Amber Leach with planning, and my role here is to assist the districts in the documentation to prepare for today's facility plan meeting.
All right, so district has reviewed acreages and verifies accuracy. These do impact your groundskeeper allowances and the block rent through WDE, and so this is a very important part of the process. We want to make sure you get adequate money. Land acquisition, you guys, districts acquired adjacent properties at the high school, middle school campus for parking expansion, and at $144,000, this project was approved by the commission in prior year. Structures on acquired property was raised, Buffalo Rose Cafe, Maverick Hotel, acquisition increase in about 0.64 acres, and I did confirm with Charlie yesterday that this 12.23 does include that, so you do have the correct acreage in there.
That's correct.
Perfect.
All right, so AIM database is updated for that stuff. Property profiles, here's your property profiles. These are important because reviewing these and verifying their accuracy actually impacts the square footage for your major maintenance payments, and then WDE operations and maintenance payments as well through that. So we thank you for doing that. Apparently you guys did send in an AIM update form at some point and got this updated as well. Another member of our team just stepped in, Paul Severson. We'll let him introduce himself.
Paul Severson, I provide leadership and coordination with the project management team who are interacting with school districts.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Hey, if we take enough time, we'll probably have another member step in, Brandon. Okay. Districts reviewed enhancements. These are important because they affect allowable square footage and also need to be reported to the select committee each year. So we do appreciate that. Let's look at this. Modular 2 was acquired by the district using CapCon funds. Paul, you'll probably remember this. They had two modulars on the Gray Bull Elementary School site. went to the commission, and basically they were able to keep one, and we paid for part of that.
Right.
And we'll be talking about that down here in just a minute, more details.
Okay.
And then the other one was return. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then they're currently in the process of turning an AIM form to change the modular from lease to own. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Haven't submitted that yet, but will I take it?
No, we did. We've submitted that and got the final corrections in today. So
Okay.
we've got that to Ms. Garrison.
All right.
She finished it then.
Okay, great.
All right.
You want to confirm that?
Uh,
Or she hasn't done it yet?
she has, let's see, let's go look real quick.
Charlie will just update that, just make sure it's there, and if not, we'll make sure it's done. District appropriations. So we have basically 3 past appropriations here. And so we'll walk down through there. I thought your description, I appreciate your information here. The modular number 1, project 107, was returned to the state as the lessor or leaser, and modular 2, 108, was acquired by the district using cap cons, totaling $13,925. The land purchase, project 1202, used in combination with funds broken down as follows: Buffalo Rose property, $78,168 cap con. You guys kicked in $28,101.79 general fund. Maverick Motel property is $149,200. Capcon, you guys kicked in $39,450. This covered both acquisition and demolition on that side. So what I did was I brought in from various past commission meetings the notes based on this. Number 1, and this just kind of sets the stage here. District will be asking. This is what you guys wrote, or Amber wrote, I guess. District will be asking about using the money to pay back their general fund. So that's the question from the district. So I've captured some notes here. On August 20th of 2015, commission notes, Bighorn 3, Commissioner Doobie approved, the commission approved $151,000 for the purchase of approximately 0.33 acres across the highway. That was original, that was a hotel, right?
Correct.
Okay. Highway Gray Bowl, which will provide additional parking. He further approved the amount of up to $8,000 due diligence, closing costs and stuff like that. Adjacent land fund, the motion was subject to approval to the purchase agreement. You guys did get that. The motion passed and you did purchase it. So that's the very first piece they bought. All right. On November 9th of 2017, Mr. Decker reviewed, hey, that's me, the summary sheet during the work session with the commission regarding Bighorn 3's request to use the remaining funds in the project to purchase a modular for special education students. Commissioner Gilmore moved the commission approving the purchase for modular 2 by Bighorn 3 with the remaining $17,775 as this is in the best financial interest of the state. Commissioner second the motion passed. So it was approved to use that money, the final portion there. Now, which one was that? That was
modular 2.
All right. Action. So next action, executive session, Bighorn County 3. Commissioner Garland moved. The commission approved Bighorn 3's request to purchase the Buffalo Rose property, utilizing the Land Opportunity Fund with state maximum contribution of $79,168.51. The district, per the letter dated May 21st, 2018, shall use the property primarily for parking and shall be financially responsible for all demolition, abatement, and any environmental cleanup needed to improve the site. So basically, they just proved up to $79,168.51. That was the maximum. Motion passed. So what I wrote here, and project managers, please confirm or disconfirm, the commission approval was limited to a maximum dollar amount representing the balance remaining for modular 2 and the maximum contribution amount for of $79,168.51 for the Buffalo Rose Cafe. So far, so good?
That was my understanding.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I don't have any other notes there. So so you guys were asking, is there any way to be, what do they call it, guys? Reimbursed for any of these. And as I went through the motions and looked through the minutes, I didn't see where there was any approval to reimburse any other funds, and what the state agreed to cover would cover, and what you guys agreed to cover would cover, and that would be the end of it. Someone see something different than that in those minutes?
I do not. So is the request for additional funds beyond those? Is that my understanding?
No, they were basically funds that were left, that weren't expended.
I don't know if they were allocated into like, like the architecture costs or the title work or something like that. It's just, as far as I know, we spent 168, but there's going $900 left over.
Yeah. Okay, so our understanding is what you're saying is this additional, now modular 1, I think is crystal clear, right, guys?
Yeah, really the one we're asking about is the land purchase one. The other two, we're done with those. It was just, we spent quite a bit of money, well, not quite a bit, some portion of our money out of general fund for both of those land purchases. And since there was $1,900 sitting in there, and I didn't look back to see how it was allocated. I was just curious if that was something that we could put towards that purchase. In the unspent category.
Okay, so that land purchase was $165.75. They've got $1,900 left. Thank you for clarifying that. 1,900, right?
Right, yep.
Okay, so down back again, we further moved, the commission approved an amount up to $8,000 for due diligence, closing costs for total up to $159, right? $159,000. They spent $158,675. Okay, so it's our understanding, looking at the commission minutes, that that you could spend up to $159, but you could not expend past that. But here's the deal. It says 159, yeah, total amount.
They have $325 that they could claim for.
That's according to the motion.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think we were just wondering because the budget, I don't know who's established that, but whoever established the budget, it says 165.75. So I believe that where the difference of the 1,900 comes in. So I'm not, it was just, it's not that big of a deal. It's just one of those, that money's just sitting here. We certainly did spend money out of general fund on this that we would gladly take reimbursed if it was possible.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like there is $325 that we would have the ability to grant and to be able to process and pay. And I don't know what's the details on how to do that since they already spent their general fund money.
They would have to submit a pay application against that project number 1202
Okay.
with some expenditure that they made that exceeds 325, and we can pay what we have remaining towards that 325. You just have to provide an invoice and bill it against that land purchase.
Can I ask a question real quick? Just, any idea, like, what does the current budget, how in the minutes it says 159, but yet the budget up there on that little spreadsheet says 165.75. Do you know why that was different? I don't really understand that part of it, why it's different than what they said they were allocated.
Charlie's taking a look and seeing, because we generally have note on how the budget was established, and we'll see if JJ has notes in there regarding how the account was set up.
if we do submit a pay app for that 300 and quarter amount, it has to be for basically expenses in relationship to that project, correct?
Yes, it would have to be towards the land purchase project.
Got it. Okay.
And what was it? 1202.
I'm looking at 1202 right now.
Okay, so I'll just say district.
Sure, why? Okay.
But it was been. Yeah, there should be some notes in there.
Transaction. Okay, process.
With every project has an appropriation, he identifies what the source of that is and why.
Right. So it's over here under account setup.
Yeah.
So as they're looking back right now, the modular 1 has a balance remaining and modular 2 has a balance remaining,
We'll
and we're going to revert those funds back according to state statute.
Correct.
All right, he is trying to find out why they did that, but even if they did 100,000, it wouldn't make a difference because of the approval through the commission and the limitation. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, it does.
But he's looking at and see if he can find answers.
There was nothing in the budget
No.
setup that
Okay.
identified why, so we don't know.
We don't.
Okay, so the answer is they don't know at this point, and but I'll have Charlie follow up with JJ and see if there's any other explanation, and if so, he will email you. Well, no matter what, he'll email you and let you know the answer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I did that. Okay, so I think you're going to submit that invoice up to 325. We can pay you for that.
Mr. Decker, who is that submitted to?
Yeah, through AIM, right?
Okay.
1202.
That's,
Not 21.
thank you.
And the remaining funds would be reverted then. Thank you.
1575. I have that.
All right, and when can you submit that, do you think?
Probably today.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm doing one more thing. I'm just checking to see if those funds are available for them to put a bill. No. Because if they were never dowed, we would have to also write a dow
Okay.
to allow that. So I'm checking that right now.
All right. He's checking to see if the Dow was issued for the 159. And if not, if it's less, then we'd have to
write a dow for that extra
Okay.
325.
Got it. Okay. And just let me know when you're ready and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for catching the 1202 mistake. Steve, do you feel comfortable talking about the safety yet?
I can do that.
Do that simultaneously?
Yeah, I'll get.
I'll let him know
so if he misses
something.
We this year, like we did last year, we're talking about the security funds that have been made available to the districts, and we're doing this with each district. In particular, we're doing this partially for two reasons. One, there's a misunderstanding in districts. In some cases, we know because we've seen interviews in the paper where they don't believe they've received any security funds, and every district except for one was awarded security funds for corrections based on the assessment done in 2015. So we're just making sure if there's any misunderstandings of school districts that yes, the legislature has identified and they have appropriated funds to every district. Now, with that being said, we've been given requests by both our commission and our legislature to encourage school districts who have not expended their funds to do so in the sake of safety and security for students in schools. But we're just offering an additional encouragement. So in addition to the funds that you were given, and I'm taking a look, expended amounts, you've expended all dollars, so that's good. And so in addition, we're given access to 2 biennial 10% allotments for security. Now, this security 10% has a little different character than any other major maintenance. It can be used on new work, and it can be used on any of 20 priorities of your choosing. And it would appear that you have available to you $59,000, at least to the best of our record based on the June 30th 680 report. So those funds are available to you. The one difference with these funds versus any other major maintenance, we are supposed to partner with you to make sure that you don't overexpend your security balance of 10%. Unlike other major maintenance funds, your regular major maintenance and your 10% enhancement, there is no guarantee that these funds will continue to be available or made available to districts in the future. In fact, they've had discussions identifying that they do not intend to continue. So we'll be able to find that out in the next couple of months, whether or not the 10% security, well, we wouldn't find that out until the next biennial budget, whether they continue to offer that to districts. So our encouragement is when you are expending funds, make sure that you still have remaining funds. We will be looking at budget requests versus what you paid out prior to June 30th of 2018, and we will be trying to limit you below what budget dollars you have left with your new budget, and that's going to be a bit of a partnership between ourselves and yourself. In addition, in the current legislature, they are talking about putting forward $4.9 million in additional funds for security capital construction. Currently, that would be pointed at the 20 priorities and any items that you had within those 20 priorities in the assessment identified as a need. So you can't put the funds towards a need that you identified, that must be identified in your assessment. We'll just have to watch and where the legislature goes with this as to whether or not they follow through with that 4.9 million. And with that being said, then I guess what we would seek is if you are needing any additional information or help from us to expend funds, these will be available to try to shepherd you through that process so that you can take full advantage of what the legislature has made available for your security of your building.
So do we have to apply for that, or is that on just where, when you fill out your work requests?
No, the 4.9 will go back towards the assessed projects in 2015. So projects that were not funded in 2015, this funding is intended to continue on with that assessment. So you don't have to make application. The allotment will be based on the assessment. Your share of it will be identified for you, and it will be available then July 1st or so in AIM for you to do it. And your project manager, after the session and after they've actually followed through with this, can go through and show you where in the assessment where these funds have been designated towards and what you can do with them. But at this point, it's completely waiting on seeing what the legislature's actions are. There's no action required on your part at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Paul. Capacity, just looking at your elementary is at 93, almost 94%. That doesn't include that modular.
Does not include modular. We don't count modulars for capacity.
Okay. Even though it's a permanent.
even though it's permanent, I mean, there's no way to do that at this point.
Okay. Then the high school is at 47%, middle school is at 67%. And this is just kind of a breakdown of your percentages of capacity. Looks like you have larger classes coming up. That's nice. They're going to be getting rid of larger classes, aren't they? Okay, so your enrollment projections. I'm sure you guys probably know about enrollment projections, but we go 10 years trailing data and just look at this data here in order to project out to the right of the date. And we always explain this so people understand, like kindergarten in 2008, kind of in 2009, you saw that you lost about 9 students, and then you just kind of follow each grade down as they go through the K-12. So that's how it is. So we have a survival rate, the kindergarten to first grade here, then 9 to 10, 10 to 11, and that's average. And then over here, you can see that you guys in your district are actually losing about 25%, about a quarter of your students are being lost between kindergarten and first grade. And that's a very interesting statistic right there. We just got done with Park 16, and they actually gain students from that, from kindergarten as they go into first grade. But just out of curiosity,
so they hold back. If I'm not mistaken, they also hold the kindergartners back. That
We have a half-day kindergarten. Well, it's not half-day, but a developmental kindergarten. And those kids stay.
It's a junior kindergarten.
Got it.
So there's going to be at least 6 of those kids. There's not an expectation of them moving on just because of their age.
Okay, perfect. And then you pick them back up. You can see 101% when you go to first, second, and so on. You guys are actually gaining students as you go through till you hit the sophomore year. You lose a few, junior, but then you pick up another 2%. So you guys have a pretty good survival rate, and it makes sense on your kindergarten where you're basically getting them developmentally ready. And if they're not ready, you're not pushing them in first grade. You're taking them one more year and then advance them to first grade. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good. How are you finding that? Are you finding that effective?
We've been doing it for lots of years, I guess, and I would say yes, in general, it's pretty effective. It's mostly, immature kids or kids who have higher needs, special needs.
Okay. Your average kindergarten class in the last 10 years has been an average of 44. You're a little bit down here, but you guys are pretty well maintaining for the most part. Overall, you went from 476 to 466. The last 3 years have been in the 400s. Before that, you had some 500s, but overall, your overall K-12 is right at 499 on average. So the last couple of years have been a little bit under, but and I assume that probably has to do with birth rates. Would that be accurate?
I would think so.
Okay. All right. Anything else on enrollment projections? If not, we'll continue on.
I've got that information.
Okay, Paul, we're going to back up for just a second, and we're going to talk about
the $325 that you still have remaining. Currently, there is a line item in Project 1202 called Due Diligence, and that funding has been encumbered, so the $325 can be directly billed against that. No director's authorization is required.
So I also know what the budget variation is on that as well.
Okay.
So going back and looking, the commission originally thought that the due diligence would cost $9,000, and instead the due diligence cost $10,475. So they put a little bit more in there to cover due diligence, and then when it was approved by the commission, they put the $150,000 in there on top of that.
Did the district follow that?
Yes.
But, so I follow what you say, but at the end of the day, the max is 159.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I don't know what to say here. No doubt needs to be done. Okay.
No doubt they can bill it directly right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, $325 is $325.
Right, we'll take it.
Take it to the bank. All right, state capacity list, Charlie.
Sure. If you'll scroll down a little bit. So with them being at 93%, they're right now they're qualifying for a low capacity need for our rules and regulations. So they fall between the 90 and 95%. So right now in this overall state, they're number 10 on that list. Currently, you see the ones above you, Lincoln and Lincoln 2, Natrona. But Natrona, has a few schools that they've mothballed that we can open up right away, and not with Laramie 1 with their high school and elementary school levels. So more than anything, that's just how we classify the needs, and right now they're on our radar with that. One of the remedies that are, we look at a lot of things at this point. One of the good things that they have right now is they do have that modulator that is on site.
That's kind of how we offset that for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about this node district. You say note that the state funding model apparently denotes space for shop programming and other CTE type programs, but does not truly reflect the actual space that the program requires. Lab, greenhouse. So are you talking about on the WDE side and what the, I was kind of struggling to understand what you were getting at here.
Well, there are some basically classroom spaces that require more space, and so if you're basically not making allowances for either lab space or let's just say, I would say shop space, like a welding class arrangement, sometimes the space is larger than the kids that we're serving, but it has to accommodate for equipment and all of those type of items. And so I didn't know. So I was just making the comment that making sure that the like lab space and anything that has to do with sometimes CTE programs, is there an allowance made in the square footage calculations that the facilities department uses for things like that?
I get what he's asking. So yeah, so your standard classroom is 37.5 square foot per student at that level. For the CTE, for the general labs, it's for general labs, that means not your specialized CTE. That's usually 60 square foot per child. And for the more specialized CTE, like your welding and your physical items, like that's 125 square foot per student. It's almost 4 times the amount of square footage per student.
Okay, I was trying to make this. I didn't see a differentiation in the calculation, so I just wanted to make sure that we were getting some credit for an ag and that type of thing.
No, and that's an excellent question. Honestly, that's a great question. We get that question a lot. So what happens is we understand that, and so we try to give more square footage for those students and those activities. And so when we divide the 2,034, for example, is the first lab I saw. Here, actually, can you go back real quick? And we'll use an example. I'm sorry, that's general lab. What's their industrial education? Okay, number 4. So when you see that number 4 line where there's industrial education lab,
yes, sir.
that 327 is divided by 125, and it's capped out at 25 students.
I got it. Okay. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and so that's what we're talking about with that. And so when you get those heavier activities, you do that. So for lighter activities, like for example, the family and consumer sciences, like any cooking or like that, or early child care, we do give them more space, 60, but not as much as the heavy like equipment.
Sure.
Okay, good question. And I think we've covered that in our methodology. And I wasn't quite sure where you're going, but thank you. So it's just an understanding of our methodology and what basically it's different space needs for different programs that are offered educationally.
Sure. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
Okay, charter schools. District has no charter schools. We can go by that one. Do you guys understand the STI scores and what they mean?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to explain that. Here's just our statewide list, top to bottom. This is just page 1, about 25, 30 buildings. I don't think you have anything on that front list.
No,
support buildings, same thing.
They're in pretty good shape.
Here are your actual buildings for education, from best building to worst, which is really good actually. So you guys have quality buildings.
And that actually the Quig building will go down in score. We've put in quite a few components and big projects in there. So that will go down when we go through in 2020.
And then you have your support facilities, same thing, really good shape. Yeah, okay, got it. And so proposed, just to respond to your and thank you for confirmation that it's important you guys get a good amount of major maintenance, and that seems to be increasing, and we'll see if that goes through the legislature this year. But it looks like there is a trend for that major maintenance numbers to increase with regard to payments. Because the state has officially gone from a capitalization program to an asset preservation, and we'll continue to encourage that. So proposed increases, major maintenance funding will be discussed below in the legislative session review section. Major maintenance, you updated your planned work orders and aim for statuses. Thank you. We're just cleaning up the database each year. PM's reviewed any submitted major maintenance work orders. This just goes to show, I think we've already identified you have 10% major maintenance enhancement balance remaining in your major maintenance account as of June 30th, unless you spent more than that between then and now. Here's what your priorities were last year from greatest to least. Floors being your number one priority, 94,000 walls, pavements, and then it kind of goes down into lesser amounts. So we know you guys have a process of prioritizing your needs and spending that major maintenance. And this is a building by building look of what you spent money on per building and what your priorities were. Was the floors, was that a replacement of carpet, or what was that?
Yes. Yeah, the carpet was, approaching, 11, 12 years, and then stained and needed to be redone, so. We did that over 2 years, actually. We did the hallways the first year, and then the classrooms the following year.
Low condition scores. Each year we get questions from legislators. Are people spending money on their low condition scores? Looking at yours, you don't have a lot. I mean, you've got 3s. You only have, 3 2s or so, maybe 4 2s. And so we just let you guys speak for yourself. And then if a legislator or someone asks for your district's information, we show them this and show them what your responses were for the low condition scores. But in general, I'd say across the state, I think districts are doing their best to take care of their low condition scores. There is a little bit of, I think, debate from certain districts if they have a school that they feel like should be replaced down the road. How much money do you put? It's like your house you're going to sell. You know, how much money do you put into it before you invest, or you either sell it or invest major capital monies? That's an ongoing struggle, I think, with districts, and then the state. We kind of look at that and say, well, take care of what you have because you have no guarantee of what the future may be. But it looks like you guys are doing a pretty good job. Any comment on this?
No, I think we're good. You can see we did add responses in the district notes for like the 2, 3s there, and a lot of those have been corrected already on there.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. And this is more that they had. A lot of them are completed.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work on the Quig building.
All right. Every 4 years, state statute requires us to go out and hire a third-party consultant to do condition assessments. We're going to be putting together and finalizing the scope in September of this year, put it out on the street. We'll obtain a consultant to do that work, and then we'll basically start through the process of calibrating assessors and get ready. So it takes a lot of time to do that. You guys, what's important for you, and I hope to see you there. I think, Joe, you've attended this in the past, but we'll have in Casper, sometime in April, we'll provide an opportunity for districts to be trained with the tool that is used to assess buildings and our staff, and just make sure everybody understands what that tool looks like, the importance of district involvement, to have the most knowledgeable person involved with that process of assessment, accompanying the assessor, making sure that they get all the best information, and then they'll go out and actually start the assessment. We'll be done by not this December, but the following December. We'll have it uploaded, and all your buildings will be updated with regard to improvements or lack thereof, and with condition assessments. Any question on that?
No.
Okay. Component projects. This is an important part of, and I think you were involved in that. I think you did do some scoring. Is that correct?
That's correct. I did.
Thank you so much. Thanks for doing that. But as you go down, all those were scored and submitted. And as you well know, your district in the past has received quite a few projects for component funding. I didn't see where you had submitted anything in this one, but would assume that you guys would continue to look at your major maintenance balances, and if you see some very large or expensive projects coming up, to take advantage of this process.
Yep, we do.
So we're all ready for commission consideration. That'll be next month. Okay, so you said you have a few questions on specific work orders that have been submitted.
Yeah, we one of the they asked for more information on it, and it was the work order for resealing some of the buildings here. What we have going on is what is it? Effervescence from the sprinkler systems and whatnot. And I mean, as we built new buildings, we got smarter. We put a gravel area out in front, but the existing buildings, the high school, the district office, and the gym area, we attempted doing it about 3-4 years ago, and the product they used was not a good product. When we did the repointing of the Quig building, the product we used there has done great. So we wanted to redo those 3 buildings, to keep that, because it makes the buildings look terrible with that effervescence coming through.
Yeah, I think the reason that I had identified asking more for more information, because you you said resealing, and what I just wanted to confirm is that the walls had been sealed before. And so all you need to do is respond back exactly what you said. Yes, we sealed the walls 4 or 5 years ago, and it's in need again.
Yes.
Because if they'd never been sealed, then major maintenance would not be appropriate. If they have been sealed, then it is appropriate. That's the only reason I was asking, just to confirm that they had been previously sealed.
Okay. So we'll get approval then on that.
Okay.
Okay. I also give the documentation on there. If you look at our architect made the recommendation to do it, and I attached that on those work orders as well.
Excellent. Did you put it back into, you have to change the status from pending to SFD review. So if you didn't, go back in and change it to SFD review.
Okay, I added the additional information, but I don't know that I necessarily did the review.
Yeah, because otherwise we've got so many work orders out there, we can't keep track of whether or not there's been new information put in. So just change the status back to SFD review, and then we'll get to it.
Okay, thanks a bunch.
You bet.
Charlie. All right. So I get a stand-in for Brandon today. He usually does the legislative review. So some bills that actually have quite a bit to do with your district and districts around the state. We'll get started on this. House Bill number 8, the major maintenance multiplier. This multiplier would increase the current replacement value percentage in the major maintenance formula from 2 to 2.5%, which would increase the major maintenance in the year 2023 by $20 million, and then an additional $600,000 a year, or 2% every year after that. So it looks to be it's going to be a significant increase, and so with that, that will trickle down into your district if that bill does go ahead and pass. House Bill 52, basically public works and contracts. It's just an architect has to write specification for products that are available from Wyoming resident suppliers. So House Bill 65, procurement amendments. When we were joined as a department with construction management 2 years ago, one of the tasks they had, it was to get the procurement all within the same line and the same standards. And so this applies mostly for major maintenance and other projects. So basically bonding goes up to $50,000 for all jobs. A&E procurement would be done at $50,000. With the caveat that between 0 and under 25K, you could go out and select whoever you want. And between 25,000 and 49,999, you'd have to solicit 3 proposals. And then after 50K, you'd have to do a formal procurement process. What that had done across the way, there had been a lot of different bonding amounts and different procurement amounts, and this has just evened it out to be $50,000 across the board. What it has also done, it has also shortened the advertising minimums. It used to be that they were all over the place as well. Now it is just 2 weeks for everybody. So just something to try to make the bidding and the procurement process a little more efficient for everyone across the board. So number 4, House Bill 78, education major maintenance funding. Instead of getting major maintenance once, or now, as we found last year, twice, this would be done every quarter, so we'd get a payment every quarter.
That's going to be an issue, isn't it, for us districts with smaller, like, and the big thing that I see is all our projects happen in the summer. 99% of our projects. So how do you? I mean, we would not have to spend for a couple of years to build up a reserve.
Well, my recommendation would be when this comes up for any public comment in the joint appropriations before. Well, I think this one's already been introduced, though, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because it would have been good for districts like yourself to had somebody say something on that order. This is not following a request we made. This is the legislature's decision to do this, but we understand what you're saying. It's just unfortunate. Apparently, no districts step forward to make comment about it.
I have a question about that. Even though it's coming quarterly, a district would have the ability, correct, to, if a work order, if there was something qualifying major maintenance, to do it, and then once the money showed up, to reimburse themselves for that. Like, from a funding standpoint, even though the money's only coming quarterly, similar to how the general fund comes every month or whatever, but a district would have the ability, if they have the funding, you know, if they have the capacity, if it qualified for a major maintenance, to go ahead and do the major maintenance project and then be, I guess you would say, owed that money from major maintenance when it arrived at the quarter.
From our perspective, your business practices and what you're required to do statutorily are your decisions. We have absolutely no opinion on that at all. We can't get involved with your internal affairs in any way. So if you
I'm not really asking that though. I'm just wondering. I guess the question I have is if it qualifies under major maintenance, you know, essentially, if we've got that money allocated over the course of a year, and despite when the money shows up from you guys for major maintenance, we would still be able to do those major maintenance type of projects, correct?
Well, one of the issues with that is if you take a look statutorily, if the state is incapable of making that payment to you, they have an out legislatively to not pay you. So what you're saying is you're going to reimburse with monies that you don't have. The state has given itself the ability, if for whatever reason they don't have the funds, not to make the payment. And again, that's nothing we have anything to do with. And again, it's kind of an internal decision on your part as to whether or not the statutes advise you not to do that. I would talk amongst yourselves or to your council to find out whether or not you feel you can do that, because we just don't have an opinion. We just can't.
When would this take effect then? July 1?
That's
So
our
I'm actually
understanding.
looking in the bill and the session laws right now, and it said it would be effective the 1st of March.
Oh boy, so that's
Yeah, so that's what it's
Right now, this is going to affect. It could.
correct.
Well, let's hope.
Had this
But you already have your major maintenance payment as of last or September.
Right.
September.
So you're fully funded.
for this year,
Next year.
Yes.
Right.
fiscal year.
It's a little strange. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the bill
So-
right now in front of me, and that's the only reason why it says that it would.
So their
it's a little-
first quarterly payment would be July, right?
It'd have to be.
And then
correct.
October and so on, every 3
Right.
months.
And so that's what it looks like. The bill would take effect immediately, but the payment would be after that.
I would suspect the only reason they're doing that
Correct.
is to give us the time to prepare for the alternate approach.
Sure.
Is
So
the
this
only
is-
reason they're
sorry.
making it available immediately.
So here's what it would say. It just says that the department shall, or the first quarterly payment on July 1st. Yeah. Basically, it would give us until July 1st to make that. I do apologize. I'm just sitting here looking at the effective and all this other stuff on there.
Yeah, but all it's doing is being able to give us the ability to recalculate the payments appropriately prior to July 1st.
Which is going to be okay.
Okay, district, so I think we've given you all that information that we know of, and I would assume that just that, you guys would have to make sure that you have enough money to pay for what you need, and if you save up a year and then go out the next summer or whatever you do, but well, I guess we'll go on from there.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know how that will look, and we don't know at this point.
I think that has a lot of momentum to pass.
Oh yeah,
It
means like, what was it, $60 million to the state revenue?
Yeah, and they were saying like potential $2 million in additional earning to the state on an annualized basis.
Okay, that was awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a couple $1 million. The state's just trying to find ways to
Right.
keep their funds intact as long as they possibly can to earn on those funds.
at like 1.7 175. So, hold on. Okay, but yes, right now it's currently it's on the general file. It was introduced today. So, okay.
It was, okay.
Okay. House Bill 79, the school finance interfund loan. Basically, this gives the legislature the ability to borrow against the legislative stabilization reserve account. It's a little interesting. I don't know all the ins and outs of that one, but that's basic gist. House Bill 80 is our current budget right now. This capital construction. Do you want to drop down to that real quick, Troy?
Which one?
There you go. This is how in House Bill 80 right now what we have. So basically, that's where we're at right now. Capacity, the one request we have for capacity right now is the Satellite High School in Rock Springs. Yeah, on here. The second would be the John C. Schiffer School for condition. Reappropriations for the Shawnee Modular. Excuse us. And then leases for the Montessori Charter School for an additional on their lease payment. For the SFC unanticipated for any of the projects above. The additional $4.95 million that we were talking about earlier for the security projects, and then an increase to major maintenance by $1 million. And then last but not least, last charter school here in town will be the lease payment for that school. So that's what's in House Bill 80. Let's see real quick.
Right here.
House Bill 94. They're working on the contracts indemnity clauses. There's not a whole lot of information on that one yet. House Bill 108. The contractor's final payment provisions restructure. Basically, it's modifying final settlement and payment to contractors procedures, updating bond requirements, and then requiring disputes to be directed to a prime contractor's surety bond. Then Senate File 49 is just saying the county zoning authority, private schools, is just saying no zoning resolution or plan shall restrict the location or use or occupancy of a private school. Basically, they're trying to get them the same rights that public schools have in terms of zoning. Senate File 53 is the Government Contracts Labor Organization Bill. Prohibits governmental entities from including specified terms related to labor organization agreements in construction-related documents. And then Senate File 57, the public records request, is just saying that public records shall be delivered within 10 days of a mutual agreement between the requestee and the agency are not reached, and the penalties are up to a felony if the agency doesn't deliver. And then this Senate File 64, dealing with school safety and security, basically our department in consultation, so WDE in consultation with our department, Homeland Security, the AG's office, and the fire marshal will create a model for school safety and security guidelines. And then last but not least, professional service procurement, basically saying that resident firms for architects and engineers are to have a physical office in Wyoming, and 50% of the contract will be done with staff or contractors employed in Wyoming. More preference.
All righty. Any questions on those bills?
No.
Well, would you clarify the one before, you know that bill about the architecture and the engineer? Are they saying it's a requirement or it's just preference for it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know the detailed ins and outs on that one. I'd have to look.
He'll look that one up as we're talking here. Thanks for the question. We'll get you an answer.
I think one of the issues, the districts in the northern part of the state sometimes find their architect services coming out of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
I know that has been testified to that extent in particular for your situation. And it was actually a legislator who brought it up. So they are aware.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually Bozeman or
Billings.
Billings.
I mean, we're closer to Billings.
Yeah, they're really close.
Casper.
Right.
By an hour.
Knowledge and firms currency. Okay, so I'll keep looking.
Okay, down to biennial budget requests. I don't think you guys, obviously just talking with you and stuff, you guys aren't asking for any capital projects at this point, and you're just basically maintaining major maintenance. Is that correct?
Unless you want to build me a stadium.
Okay. Requesting stadium.
That's all right.
Don't put that.
Like Big Piney. Have you been to Big Piney's new stadium?
Yeah, it's nicer than the I played at.
Wow, that is awesome. That's quite a place. It only takes money, district money. I'll just say district at this time is not requesting. Okay. One thing that's changed in our rules and regs, in the past we've had a capacity list and ranked that and presented it to SFC and then select committee. And then we had a separate condition score list, like the one we showed you earlier, and then made recommendations based on those two lists. That's not the rule of the land anymore. The law of the land is that for every building in the state, we will have facility condition score. That will be 50% of the weighting for prioritizing that project on a list, a needs index list of some type. Then capacity will account for 35%. That'll probably be in line with whatever the configuration is of the district for elementary, middle, or junior high school. And then 15% for educational suitability. We do have a 2010 educational suitability scores list available. That list is, though obviously 8 years old now, but it's the most recent we have. And then some buildings do not even have a score within that because they're newer buildings, remodeled buildings, whatever that may be. So that's something that we'll be putting together and presenting to the commission as well as the select committee at some point here. And if there's no state statute to change this kind of stuff, then we'll just proceed with probably asking for monies for an educational suitability study in order to update that, which will take a year or two. And then perhaps the next biennium or following, we'll have an updated capacity or educational suitability scoring for all the buildings to match. And then a new list would come out. So it's now again a conglomerate or a combine of these three weighting systems and condition, capacity, educational suitability to actually give each building in the state a composite score. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
Yeah, it's a different world we live in, and it'll be interesting.
So to answer the question on Senate File 74, it just says that in their proposal, that statement of qualifications application, that if selected for the project, the firm will perform at least 50% of the contract for professional services using staff or contractors employed in the state.
So it's a requirement.
It does.
So I think the legislators are very serious about obviously in-state engineers, in-state architects receiving state monies as much as possible.
It means your lobby is going to be.
Are there any other, before we close out the meeting today, any other unique issues, ideas, or concerns that the district would like to bring up before closing?
No, sir.
Okay, staff?
Thank
Nothing
you.
for me. I don't have anything. No.
Okay, thank you for working with Amber. She does an awesome job at preparation, and we appreciate district you working and preparing for this. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out the meeting and end it. Thanks, and we look forward to visiting your district sometime in the future. The planning team, the PMs, they get to do that all the time. They get to have all the fun. Okay, thanks a lot. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you.